I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review of episode 3 of Taskmaster series 18, and I think this is definitely my favourite episode so far. I mean, we're only 3 episodes in, but I thought this episode was absolutely fantastic. So starting off with the prize task, and the prize task this time was to bring in the most soulful item. And yeah, I do agree with Greg that not many people did very good on this task. So Rosie brought in a saxophone, and I think she kind of went straight down the middle as like a decent prize. I don't think this was as bad as Greg is making out. Like, yes, it's kind of low effort, but a saxophone is associated with soul and soul music, so I definitely understand why she went for this. I do like her saying that, no, she cannot play it, but just having the saxophone on her does make her more soulful, and I do kind of agree with that as well. And I do have to say that when they asked her to think of the best like saxophone song, my first thought was The Simpsons. So I like that we're on the same wavelength with that. And yeah, it was very funny. And yeah, I do think 1 point is a bit unfair, but I do think maximum like 3 for this, in my opinion. On to the next one, we had Emma, and she brought in a Furby, and this I definitely don't think is very soulful, even though I absolutely love her explanation of this prize. I like the whole, they start off saying nothing and you eventually teach it to say I love you, and you get to put your finger in its mouth. Like, it was just such a funny story around this prize, which is why I think she scored a little bit higher than she perhaps should have done. Because for me personally, I would have swapped Emma and Rosie's round. I do think Rosie's is more soulful, even though Emma's is like kind of like a better item, I guess. Because yeah, I wouldn't say a Furby is soulful at all. But as Greg said, she is good at arguing her prize tasks. So for this one, she's saying, I know it to be my truth. And, you can't argue with that, really. So she is very good at upselling her prizes, I think, which is why she does score a little bit higher than she should have done. Next up is Jack, and he brought in a James Brown effigy that was supposed to sing the soul music, but obviously due to copyright, they couldn't show any of it, which I just think is hilarious. And I think it made it even more hilarious by the fact that the doll thing like decapitated itself and fell over. Like, I love that they kept that in, which I do think may have hurt Jack's attempt a little bit, but it's just so funny they had to put that in rather than showing it working well, unless it just did always fall over every single time. I do think 3 points is fair for Jack's one because it does link to soul, like soul music, but they're not that good of a prize either. So I think 3 points is very fair for this. And the next 2 are definitely better than the 3 that we've already seen. So then we had Andy bringing in a whole bunch of soul puns, which I absolutely loved. I thought it was so good. Lots of things here, so like the soul of the shoes, Dover soul, playing soul music if you could, and the sun in Spain, and yeah, putting the soul of Greg's great uncle, whatever it was, in the shoe, and this means that he's dressed as a wizard for the entire show, which I thought was absolutely amazing. I did consider that maybe this was his outfit, because I did see some people comment that maybe it isn't a hot dog outfit for everybody that we saw in episode 2, so maybe people have different outfits. But no, I think this is just him dressed as a wizard, which is even better in my opinion. But yeah, as I said, I absolutely love this one. I thought there's a lot of effort that went into it, but also not a lot of effort as well, if that makes sense. Not a very good prize, but I think it just ticks off so many boxes to do with soul, so many different things about it, and I love a good pun, so I thought this was really good. Baba then brought in a Nigerian talking drum, and this I think is a really good prize. Like, the actual prize itself is good, so that always makes them a little bit better for me. So yeah, this was a talking drum which has this whole really interesting story about how it supposedly absorbs the language of the place that it's being played in, and he then takes it to Stevenage and puts it there. And I just thought the whole story around this was really hilarious, and I think because of the fact it was a genuinely like good prize to win, and that it had like an interesting backstory, and then it was made funny by Baba, it's a perfect prize in that aspect. So yeah, I definitely think he deserved to win, and I do think Andy's was, I do really like Andy's as well, but yeah, I do think because Baba's is a better prize, he deserved to win over Andy, although I absolutely loved Andy's one as well. The first proper task of this episode was to put a rocket in your pocket, and I loved the countdown to like the launch of the rocket. I thought that was really fun. The red lights made the lab look even more ominous than it normally is. And yeah, then the rockets being firing was really funny, and I loved when Baba's failed to launch. I loved how irritated Baba got with Alex about where the rocket is, just Alex just not being helpful whatsoever. I thought that was really, really funny. But overall, I really enjoyed this task. I thought this was a really good one. So the actual task itself, just finding the rocket, seems very simple. I liked that there was so many hidden around the house. And because they were quite small, they were quite difficult to find. So I liked that aspect of it. I thought it was a really good thing of just like going wild and trying to find something. And yeah, Baba was surprisingly really quick at finding the tiny little rocket inside the orca's mouth. I thought we had the best idea of just going for it and just trying to find something really quickly. Because yeah, it did work in his favour. I like the sneaky little bits about having the like half a rocket on the floor, like it wasn't a full one, so it wouldn't work. So there are lots of little tricks in this which I really enjoyed. And speaking of tricks, I absolutely loved the punishment that if you made or drew a rocket, then you would then have to put 2 rockets in your pocket unless you were a rocket scientist. I just thought that was really funny. And yeah, it's something that is often a workaround. So, I mean, bringing back the pineapple task from series 15, there's been lots of arguments about whether like drawing it is actually completing the task. So I like that this kind of played on some of the arguments that they've had in previous tasks, or just maybe want to force people to think of a different workaround or actually just do the task like as intended. Because yeah, this I thought was really good. I thought it really challenged the contestants and made them really like panic. I think especially with Emma. I mean, she was already kind of panicked before by putting a sweet in a can of Coke, which I understand where she was going with it, because even though I guess that's more like a makeshift volcano, isn't it? When you put like the sweet in the Coke and it explodes. That's what I would associate more rather than with a rocket. So I kind of get where she was going, but she said it was shockingly bad. Yeah, it didn't fizz. It was just not anywhere near a rocket. So yeah, she definitely deserved that penalty. But I do think that even if they hadn't have had that penalty, she wouldn't have got away with that either. So yeah, she probably got more points than she would have done if that wasn't the punishment. The additional punishment of if you swear after you've been told you can't draw or make a rocket just added to the funniness of it. I thought it was so good. And yeah, Emma took it in stride. So many people would get annoyed about it, but she seemed to just find it quite funny. I am surprised by how long it took Emma to find all the rockets and to just realise that she could look in other things to find rockets and that they wouldn't have just been like obviously laying around. Because yeah, 39 minutes I think it was. It's just so long to spend on a relatively simple task. But yeah, I guess she just wasn't thinking properly about this, and she was kind of panicked by the fact that she had to find 3. And obviously finding 3 compared to 1 does make it a lot more difficult, but there seemed to be quite a lot hidden around the house. There was obviously the one in the Orca, which a surprisingly big amount of people managed to find. There was the one in the skull that Andy found, and then there seemed to be quite a few, the one in the light thing, and then the one in Charlotte Ritchie's little doll thing, which I thought was really fitting that Emma was the one who found that one, considering she has worked with Charlotte Ritchie in the past. I do think Andy's was pretty bad as well. Even the rocket that he got the penalty for wasn't that good either. He just stuck some paper onto the rocket. Like, it just didn't really work, and it wasn't anywhere near like a rocket at all. And I'm surprised that he didn't realise he could leave the lab. I thought that was quite weird that he, for some reason, didn't think that he could leave the lab. But yeah, anyway, once he did, I thought he was pretty quick to find some of the rockets. Then we had Jack and Rosie, who both put the salad in their pocket. And I am a little bit torn on this, because I did also think when it was Andy and Emma doing their task, that, what if you put rocket, like the salad, in your pocket, would that count? So on one hand, I would, if it was me, I kind of want it to count, because I also thought of that. But on the other hand, I do agree with Andy that they didn't put a rocket in their pocket, they put some rocket in their pocket. So on that sense, I do think that they perhaps shouldn't have got it, but then on another hand, I think it was a difficult decision for Greg to make, because I do think that their quick thinking should be rewarded, especially Jack, who managed to do it really, really quickly, to think of putting rocket in. So I do think that should be rewarded, thinking outside the box. And I think because of the fact that the other thinking outside the box, like drawing it or making something, then you've already got that kind of aspect taken away. So I do think the thinking in a different sense should also be rewarded. But I loved Andy arguing about it, then making them say to Rosie's face that she shouldn't get the point. I just thought the whole thing was very funny. That whole interaction, that whole little argument was quite funny. And yeah, Bubba thinking quite smartly is like, I'm only going to say they should get rid of the points if they're quicker than me, which they were. So yeah, I thought that whole thing was really, really funny. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Do you think Jack and Rosie should have got the points, or do you think they should have been disqualified? Because as I said, I am torn, but I think overall I do agree with Greg on this occasion. The next task was to recreate a 2D piece of art in 3D. And this I thought was a really good one, not only because everybody's attempts was really good, but I do think the actual task, it was a really good task. Every season they have an art task of some sort, and I thought this one was a really good one. I think my other favourite one was the one in series 16 when they had to do a famous piece of artwork on like post-it notes on like 100 different squares. I thought that was really strong, and I think this one is really strong as well. I think the recreating a piece of art is quite good. It gives you something to compare it to and actually work out whether it's like genuinely really good, whereas sometimes Greg kind of awards the more like abstract things, even if like they're technically not as good as the other ones. He just kind of goes off like how much he likes it, whereas I do think having the recreation part of it does make Greg and the audience look at them and compare them to see how accurate they are, see how good they are. So I like that aspect of it. And the added challenge of doing it in 3D I thought was quite good, because again, it makes you think of what could be around the painting as well. And as I said, everybody did a really good job on this one. I loved the montage of them all creating the art. So you had Emma being like creeped out by the weird like gold fabric and like the way it felt and everything. You had Baba talking about how much he hates flowers, and just his whole thing was really, really funny. You had Andy squishing Alex with the cow. Like, there were just so many little funny things here. So yeah, I really liked all of that, and I think the studio banter in between the montage and seeing the attempt was really funny, especially going back to Baba and the flowers, and then Jack D's lamppost joke. That was just really good. I thought it was really funny. And yeah, I just thought it was all a very, very strong task. So yeah, talking about their artworks, everyone's was so good. Emma's was so impressive. Like, I didn't know the like original, the thing that she was recreating, but looking at the pictures side by side, I was so shocked about how accurate it was. Like, even little things about the little blotches of colour on the side being the same, and the recreation itself was so interesting as well. There's so many little things to look at. I knew as soon as I saw hers, she'd be getting 5 points, because it was just so good. It was such a good one to start with. Andy's as well. I thought, like, at first, I thought Andy's wasn't that good, but as soon as they put it in black and white, I thought it was really, really good. I think, like Greg said, he was perhaps a bit ambitious, but then I would say Emma was quite ambitious as well, because there was so many little parts to this that were quite difficult to do, especially when it's like abstract. But I think he did a really good job. There are so many little things that he did, that like the thing about having like the leg in there, the cow, so many cool things I liked about this. And I do think in black and white, and when you compared them, there was so many things that he got accurate. As Emma said, the cow was the wrong way around. But yeah, I thought this was really good. I don't think it is as strong as Emma's though. I'll talk about what I would do with the scorings at the end, but yeah, Greg also gave this one 5 points. Jack's one was so good. I love this one. I think, as I said, he does look quite like Vincent van Gogh in a way. I thought it was really good with like the bandage around his head. As soon as he walked in, you knew exactly what he was going to do. And I think even with the sense of like the painting in the background was very, very similar to the one in the original painting as well. So there lots of like a good attention to detail. The coat was very similar. I think he did a fantastic job. He took something quite simple as well, and I think just nailed the accuracy in so many different parts. So yeah, his is definitely worth 5 points to me as well, which is also what Greg gave it, because he gave 5 points to everybody. Rosie created Andy Warhol's soups, and I thought this was really good. Again, she went with something quite simple, but I think she did pull it off really well, and I think the added joke of having Sam Campbell's face on there was really good. I thought that was a nice touch. Personally, again, I would perhaps give this 4 points rather than 5, because I just think the accuracy and the amount of work that kind of Emma and Jack went to was perhaps a little bit higher, but I did really enjoy this one as well. Like I said, I think the added addition of putting Sam Campbell's face on there was really funny, and I really enjoyed that. Next up we have Baba, and his was really impressive as well. I thought his was so good. I think, again, he went quite simple, but I think he absolutely nailed it. Yeah, it was really impressive, it was really accurate, so yeah, this was really good. And as I said, Greg gave everybody 5 points. Personally, I would have given Emma, Jack and Baba 5 points, and then Andy and Rosie 4 points, because I just think there was that bit of a distinction between the other 3 and with Andy and Rosie, just with the amount of detail they went to, the accuracy of it, and just like the overall look of it. I just think those 3 were just exceptional, but I do think that they should also get a very high score as well, because theirs were really good. Like, I'm not mad about everybody getting 5 points, don't get me wrong, but that would just be personally how I would have scored it if it was me. But I do think have everybody getting 5 was quite nice. And next up, my favourite task of this episode, which was to win the pub quiz by cheating in as many different ways as they could. They had to cheat in at least 5 ways, and every time they got caught cheating, then didn't count as one of their ways of cheating, and then they also lost a point on their pub quiz as well. I absolutely love this task. I would have loved to have done this task. I would have loved to have been one of the people doing like the pub quiz in their pub with them. I just thought it was such a good one. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. So funny as well. Like, I don't even know where to begin talking about this one, because it's not really so that you can critique their attempts with, because I just thought it just was them all just having fun. But I thought there were some really good moments in this one, and I do think this one is one that people would just love to do anyway. You know, it's something that a lot of people have done. Loads of people have done a pub quiz before, and everybody would perhaps think about cheating on a pub quiz as well. So it's like, I just think it's a really good one that's like relatable to viewers, but also just adds so much fun into it. And yeah, I just loved it. I thought it was quite funny at the start where Alex left the room, where they had like 2-3 minutes to think of ways to cheat. Rosie and Andy both left the room. Rosie came back with a phone and Andy came back with an encyclopedia. I just thought that was really funny. I definitely would have grabbed the phone if it was me, because that is just infinitely more helpful than the encyclopedia. Although I do think obviously some of the questions were made that they had to find something in the room to help them cheat to get it right, like with the photo round where they had to guess what Alex was holding in his hand, which was a colander, which is something that you wouldn't be able to guess unless you were able to cheat. So I do think that addition was quite fun, because it forced them to use the props they had around the room, which I think they would have done anyway. Yeah, I just think it was a nice addition, and it just adds to the hilarity as well, knowing that there is no way they would have got the answer right if they hadn't have cheated. So I just think that's really funny. But yeah, lots of different ways that they cheated. Obviously finding the info sheets around, using like the globe, the atlas, Andy put a mirror up behind their like other people's table so you could like potentially cheat from their answers. Also just looking over at their answers as well. Emma's romantically cheating thing I thought was absolutely hilarious, and I love that it counted as cheating. I think it was just so good, like Emma bringing it up right at the beginning if they were married, and a kiss on, like proposing a kiss on the cheek, Andy then immediately saying no, a handshake, and Baba just refusing. And then eventually when they did do the cheat, Emma just gave them both like a peck on the hand, which was just so funny, and I loved that it broke Alex because it was really good. Both teams had good tactics and quite similar tactics as well, which is not surprising. So faking like an illness or injury, Rosie with her cramp, making Alex like stretch her legs, and then Emma choking was one of the things she did, and when Alex tried to look at the table, like kind of pulled his head away, which was quite funny, and then falling on the floor demanding he go get her a blanket and go get her a sick bucket as well was another thing. Andy making Alex go check if a parcel had arrived for him. Just so many funny little things. And just kind of making Alex just go out of the room however they could. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I am so surprised that the people in the room, like pretending to do the pub quiz, it like didn't crack as well, because I 100% would have done. I thought it was so good. And the way that they just kind of acted normally throughout. So when they marked the answers wrong on their quizzes or did things like that, and like they were just like, oh, I thought we got more than that, and like, oh, they've said we misspelt it so we didn't get it, and lots of little things like that. I think they were great additions to the task as well. I thought the whole Sue Perkins thing was so good. I think having them call her and the little trick about the big pause between saying hockey and then saying that you really love football was so good. And I love how outraged Emma got, and then just when it was revealed that it was football, just her just absolutely bawling with laughter. It's so good. I absolutely loved it. It was so funny. And yeah, I just love that they all seem to have so much fun with it as well, and that's what I absolutely love to see with Taskmaster and the contestants and their attempts is just having fun with it. And we definitely saw this in this task, and I thought it was just so fun to watch. And yeah, as I said, I'm just so jealous that they got to do this because I'd have loved to have a go at this. Another little bit that I really liked was it the snooker question where Alex listed like, oh, if I hit blue, then red, then whatever, all the colours. Jack going from progressively trying to work it out, then getting annoyed with it, then laughing at how ridiculous it was. I just loved the progression of that, and I just thought it was really funny. So overall, the scores were the team of 3 got 22 out of 30 on the quiz, and then got 6 points knocked off for being caught cheating 6 times. And the team of 2 scored 23 out of 30, but then were caught 9 times cheating. So they got 9 points taken off. And I was actually quite surprised at this because I think the way it was edited together definitely made it feel like the team of 3 got caught cheating more times than the team of 2. I think, you know, with the getting the answers off the shelf, like Emma got caught red-handed with that, whereas Rosie and Jack didn't. It definitely just seemed to me that the team of 3 got caught more, but that just might have been the way it was edited together. But yeah, I do think the scoring was fair on this one. 5 points for the team of 3 and 4 points for the team of 2 because it was so close, and I think both teams were just equally as funny, so I do think that they both deserve those points as well. And then on to the studio task. And this one I think was quite a difficult task as well. So this was, they had to like pat, rustle, mark, like, and so on. And this I did think was quite difficult, and it seemed to, like, obviously for the TV viewers, we didn't really feel it, but definitely seemed to go on for quite a while. Like Baba was kind of relieved to be the first one out because he's like, at this rate, I'm happy to be out. And everyone seemed quite exasperated at the end. But there were some funny moments for this, like Rosie always forgetting the names of the people and what they had to do, and then Emma helping her by writing it down and then realising that Rosie was actually beating her. So all of that was quite funny, but I do think it wasn't their strongest studio tasks, and I have felt this season so far that their studio tasks haven't been the greatest, which is a bit of a shame, but they are entertaining, but the actual tasks themselves I don't think are that strong. But the episodes are definitely very, very strong in my opinion based on the tasks and the contestants. Yeah, just the studio tasks, not the strongest so far. But as I said, I did think it was quite funny and quite entertaining. However, another thing about this studio task that I didn't like was that it was winner takes all. So Andy got 5 points and nobody else got any points. And I don't really like winner takes all because, especially as I said, it seemed to go on for quite a while. All that effort that everybody else put in and they don't get anything. I definitely think it should have been, okay, Andy gets 5 points and then the person with the next amount of correct answers gets second place, and so on. Because yeah, I just think that makes it more fair. I don't really like the winner takes all, which I think I mentioned in my review of episode 1, I think it was. So yeah, not a biggest fan of that, because I do think it can mess up the scores a little bit. So overall in this episode, the wizard won the studio task and then won the episode. And yeah, we've had quite equal winnings so far, so no one's won twice yet. So we had Rosie, then Jack, and now Andy. And I do think it is quite likely that all of the contestants will win at least one episode, because I think everybody is kind of like equally as strong as each other. I mean, obviously some people are scoring higher than others, but I don't think we have anybody that I would say that is the worst contestant in terms of points. I think they're quite fairly spread out, to be honest. So another very strong episode for series 18. As I said, I absolutely loved the pub quiz task, and I do think the rocket task and the art task were both really, really strong as well. So if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, it's really appreciated, and comment down below your thoughts on episode 3 of series 18 of Taskmaster. Subscribe if you want to see more videos to do of Taskmaster. I'll have some more out for you soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!